All is One Reflections. I am Priestess Ifa Pomile Omowari Ogbonyomi, and I am a goddaughter of Priestess Oshun Funke Iyanifa. I am staff at the Orisha Hoodoo Institute, staff at BSN and the Voodoo Institute. I am the owner of Enchanted Vibes, the co-owner of Vibe and High, and overall badass bad mama jamma. So today's class is called Kingmakers. And I'm going to say this, I'm going to preface this with saying that this is not a class where ego can exist. Egos do not exist in well-rounded, long-lasting relationships. There is no place for ego in these spaces. Sorry for the sirens. Compromise is necessary on both ends. Love, loyalty, and respect is necessary on both ends. And so I'm going to talk a lot about how we are kingmakers, how we can become kingmakers, and some of the things that we do that ain't queen-like, and why we need to stop doing them. Because we can't expect behavior that we aren't giving back. And so it's parts of this are going to seem like I'm being a little harsh on women. And it's not necessarily that, but we need to take accountability. And we are horrible at taking accountability sometimes, especially as it relates to the dynamic in relationships. We often blame men for whatever is wrong, and we don't actually sit back and think about how we are affecting our men that leads to certain things. Now, this is not about cheating. We're not talking about that. But there are other things that exist in relationships where we could do better as people. So this isn't about fixing broken men. This isn't about molding men to make them what you want. This isn't about making your man match the potential that you see in him. This class isn't about losing yourself to help a man find himself. This is about meeting a good man where he is and inspiring him to be the man that he is destined to be. This is about healing the parts of you that you have hidden from your man so that you can be your best self. This is about giving and receiving. This is about learning how to be submissive without feeling weak. This is about being such a force that your man has no choice but to get into alignment or get the fuck gone. This is about divine alignment between masculine and feminine power in a romantic relationship. We're about building legacies. This is not about egos at all. My job as a partner is not to add to his insecurities, and it's also not to indulge his insecurities. We're going to get to the bottom of, problems, and then we're going to heal from them. We're not tiptoeing around. We're not walking on eggshells, and we're not being scary. You know what I'm saying? Mature adults actually sit and have conversations. And sometimes there needs to be some grace. There will need to be some patience, maybe even a little space, depending upon the situation. A real relationship will be full of small compromises. You will have to compromise. He will have to compromise. If you're in a same-sex relationship, your other counterpart will have to compromise. This doesn't mean like sweeping things under the rug or being silent to keep peace, because peace is a demon sent to fuel resentment. And that is not what we want in a relationship. And so I know I came out a little hot just now, so let's take a moment. Relationships right now they have a really bad rap. If you've been paying attention at all to social media, men and women are pitted against each other constantly. The cisgender and transgender people are pitted against each other constantly. Most of us are fighting just to exist, all while being thrown into some weird gender war, regardless of how we identify. If you add romance to that, it's pretty much a dumpster fire of bullshit. Earth is ghetto as fuck. Humans are trichomonas of all life forms. If you know what trichomonas is, you know what I'm saying. It's super common. You know what I'm saying? It's horrible. Okay. Priestess says, and everyone has a podcast and think they are relationship gurus. Absolutely. And it's often very one-sided, which is why I wanted to preface this by saying that we have to take accountability. And this is not going to be like a male bashing thing, because this is about goodness. This class is not about possums. We all know possum ass men. This class ain't about them. Not them ashy nakers, as Priestess Omojole would see it. And yes, that 50-50 conversation, if that's what you want, that's what you want. Stop trying to force people into situations they don't want to be in. If you agree with 50-50 and you find a man that agree with 50-50, great. If you don't want a 50-50 relationship, stop dealing with ashy people in your mind who want to do 50-50. That's it. There's plenty of men who will provide and take care of all the bills and would love to do it. Find one of them. Stop trying to force your lifestyle and your practices on other people. We've talked about this before as far as like a religious thing, but we have to really start talking about this as a financial thing. The financial preparedness of people is not your responsibility. And when you are in these relationships and you're trying to build a relationship with somebody, if they aren't where you are financially, you can offer assistance, you can offer guidance, you know what I'm saying? You can offer resources. But if they aren't getting there, baby, move on. Finances are an important part of relationships. And this is something that our community really has a hard time with, where we look at people funny for arranged marriages, and we look at white people funny because of how, how they just naturally do marriage. White people understand that, yes, you want to be in love with the person, but it's also a business. You cannot build with somebody who's financially destitute. It's not going to work. These are conversations that you need to have. And a king ain't going to be financially destitute, even if it's temporary. Everybody goes through stuff. You know what I'm saying? People have hard times. That's different. And if, your man falls on hard times, it doesn't mean leave him. Assist him where you know how to assist. Help him with resources. That don't mean give him all your money. Will you occasionally loan him some money? That is up to you. I'm not going to tell you not to do it, because I've loaned my man money. Just make sure that there's an agreement about what's happening with that money, what's happening with your finances, and then make sure that it's followed. Hold him accountable. And if he ain't going to be accountable, goodbye. Like, we have to stop this, and I'm off topic already, but we have to stop this weird thing where we keep pouring into people who A, aren't pouring into us, B, aren't pouring into themselves, and C, don't give a fuck. And y'all know exactly the type of people that I'm talking about. We got to stop doing this. We got to stop doing this. See those people for where they are and who they are, love them from far away, and go about your business. Stop trying to mold people into this image that you have of them, and then being mad when they don't hold up to that image. That's your image of them, not theirs. That's your version of their destiny, not theirs. Stop it. Okay, so that wasn't even really less. That was not less hot than what I started with. That actually got more. So anyway, we have to do better. We have to do better about how we treat people, animals, the planet, everything. We just had, before I started recording, we had this whole conversation about animals and halal meat. And so that's very on point with that, because I had this point written for no reason in here. And now we see why that point was in here written, because we were just talking about the treatment of animals. So the first step is to treat ourselves better. It's hard to give grace, love, and understanding to others when we don't even give it to ourselves. We often project our insecurities onto others. Sometimes this is a subconscious thing, and sometimes this is a conscious deflection of what we have going on. Most of what we are going to talk about is ways that you can be a better person. And we must understand personal accountability. We can't inspire greatness in our partners if we aren't doing the work to be great ourselves. king makers are that way because they themselves are queens and kings or whatever. I don't know what the non-binary version of that would be. Royalty, period. Right? We can't inspire greatness in people from a low place. That just doesn't work that way. We have to stop this weird delusion that we have about ourselves, especially those of us with a lot of feminine energy or who identify as female. We are very delusional. We are so delusional. And I just did 2 readings. I did one yesterday and I did one today. And the one I did today, I asked her, I told her to make sure she gets a reading from Priestess Omoshule about her Ori. Because as we were talking, I told her, and she even said that she can be very delusional sometimes. And we talked about spiritual psychosis. And she understood exactly what I was saying. She didn't take offense to it because she took accountability for her reactions and her actions and her thoughts and the way she was moving in certain situations that she realizes wasn't the best way to move. And so that's all we can do is take accountability for ourselves. You cannot control what other people do. You can't control what other people think, what they say, none of that. The only person you can control is you. The only person you should be controlling is you. And we have to stop trying to control men while also telling them to be leaders, because that doesn't even make sense. And there's certain women that it's so weird. They want a man to listen to everything they say and do everything they say, but then they also want him to put her in her place and lead. Girl, shut the hell up. Because you don't even know what it is you want. It's like this weird thing. You want men to have emotions and tell you how they feel. And as soon as they do, you throw it in their face, which we're going to talk about later. Like, it's this weird, delusional, psychotic thing that some women do. Not all, but too many of us. So many of us to the point to where it's so common that the He-Man Haters Club can really say something about it because it's so common. And I've seen it from my friends. And I was like, I literally had to tell my best friend, girl, you need to calm. You need to figure it out. Because this ain't going to work. And this was when her and I were both married. She was very much like my husband and I was very much like her husband. We had very similar, our marriages were the same, but flip-flopped in many ways, not completely, but in many ways. And she was very much like that. And so was, and I don't even want to say her husband was, she was very anti-emotions and anti-feelings. And so she didn't understand when other people had them, including her husband. And then she would tell him that his feelings were stupid and that it was stupid that he felt that way. And they aren't married anymore. And I completely understood why, because that's not how we're supposed to operate. We have both masculine and feminine energy, and there needs to be balance. And when we tell men that they're being sassy or gay for having and expressing their feelings and emotions, that is very counterproductive. Again, another tangent. Like I was saying, we often project our insecurities onto other people. Sometimes it's conscious, sometimes it's a deflection. Most of what we're going to talk about is ways for you to be a better person. Again, understanding personal accountability. Today's relationships are full of ego. It's a lot of tit for tat. You are either a simp or a pimp, either a gold digger or a pick-me. Men clown other men for treating women well. Women degrade other women for showing grace and understanding towards men. This is all foolishness. Pure, unadulterated foolishness. It's very egocentric. It's a projection of things unhealed in yourself. It's a sign of people worried about the wrong shit. And instead of being focused on building their own household and legacy, they are looking everywhere but within. And we need to stop this. We need to stop this as a culture. Most of us are Black women. And although society has told us that men rule the world, we have to understand that we must learn to rule beside them, not in front of them, not from behind them, but beside them. If you think that submission is slavery, then you will not like anything that I have to say. If you have a hard time with trying to understand your partner and not change them or control them, but genuinely understand them so that you know how to move accordingly, you're going to have a hard time with some of the things I have to say. Learning the power of submission is paramount in learning how to rule beside someone. Again, this does not mean tolerance of ridiculous behavior or going through hell to get to heaven. It's about understanding your role and helping your partner and vice versa. This will not work on any unworthy partner. I will say this again. This will not work on any unworthy partner. What I say today will not be useful in changing a frog into a prince. Simply putting lotion does not heal. Putting on lotion does not heal dry skin. You must hydrate. You must eat well. An ashy person with poor habits will just be an ashy person with lotion on. You're not going to change the inside. You're literally putting on lotion. It's not going to heal or make anything better, because in a few hours, they're still going to be ashy. This isn't about changing who someone is. It's about supporting them as they evolve. And notice how I said supporting and not help. Yes, it is good to help people, but a good partner needs support. They need motivation. They need reassurance. You cannot do things for them. They must do things for themselves. True partnership involves a level of autonomy. They must be able to maneuver through some things without your help. And this is hard for many people to do, is to let their partner do things. Just like how you have to let your children, as I said in a couple classes ago, you got to let your children do things and occasionally fail, or they won't catch the lesson. They won't appreciate the lesson. They won't appreciate the gift. They won't appreciate the circumstance if they've never failed at it, or if you've or they won't even understand how to go through it. Because what happens when you're not around? They're going to call on you. So they're going to bother you and harass you for your whole life. Or they're going to depend on you too much. There's a lot of codependency in relationships that is unhealthy, because it's not two whole people coming together. It's a 75% whole person and like a 45% whole person. Usually there is some differences. And then they're trying to fill each other's gaps and holes. And that doesn't work either. Now, that's not to say that you have to come completely healed to relationships, because that's almost impossible. We know that as people who've all gone through shadow work, that, you know, there's a lot that goes on in life that you have to deal with, and it takes your whole life to learn some lessons. However, you can't rely on your partner to make you happy. Will Smith said this a few years ago, and I know everybody's like, Will and Jada aren't the good example, but they are very good examples in certain ways, because they learned this, and they were already separated at this point, which nobody knew, right? But you cannot expect somebody else to make you happy. You have to find ways that make you happy. You have to find things that give you joy outside of your partner. This goes back to the autonomy. You have to have autonomy. Yes, you are partners, and yes, you are building. And yes, as the saying goes, especially religiously, once you join together, you become one. But you are still two different bodies. You are still two different people, still two different brains, still two different experiences. And we have to understand, appreciate, and respect this about each other. Your partner doesn't have to do everything you want to do. You ain't got to do everything they want to do. If they want to go to their friend's house, chill with the homies, you got to let it happen. Not all the time. not in a way that's disrespectful. They shouldn't be there at 4 o'clock in the morning. You know what I'm saying? Unless that's the type of relationship you have and that's something that you came to an agreement with. But there's got to be agreements. There has to be agreements. There has to be boundaries. There has to be rules that have been set into place in the beginning. You cannot all of a sudden create a boundary because you're tired of something. If you didn't like it, you should have said something in the beginning, because now that's who they are. They've been doing something for 10 years. You've been in this relationship for 10 years. They've been doing it this way for 10 years. You never said nothing. Now all of a sudden you're mad. And you be talking about how you've been mad the whole time for the past 10 years. You just tolerated it. Do not do that. If you have an issue or a problem, talk about it then. Talk about it when it occurs. Talk about it at the beginning, because all it does is create resentment and problems. And now a normal behavior for them has now come to the point to where it's a do or die situation. And you should never put your partner in a position where they have to choose between you or anyone. You should never willingly do that. Not their family, not their mama, not their friends, nobody. Because again, they still need to be able to have a semblance of a life outside of you so they can appreciate having the time with you. But if you are all they are allowed to be around, all they are allowed to see, that is going to suffocate them. And we just, a lot of times we as women, we want to be, I'm his only friend. No, girl, let him go and watch football with his niggas, okay? He doesn't want to watch football with you. You don't even like football. You don't even know the people. You don't know the plays. You don't know the rules. You don't know the teams' names. You don't know where the teams are. You don't know the basic stuff. He wants to be able to have conversations that appeal to him, just like you want to have conversations appeal to you. This man don't care about Fenty makeup. He don't care about none of that. He don't care about the way that a shirt fits from one brand as opposed to another one. He don't care about bags. He don't care about heels. He doesn't care about, he probably don't care about cookbooks. He might, but he probably don't care about cookbooks. He don't care about sewing. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't care about true crime stories. He doesn't care about Snapped. He might not care about First 48, whatever it is. Let that man have that, and you find people that enjoy things that you enjoy so that you can have that outlet, and you don't need him to be your outlet. He doesn't need you to be his outlet because you have other people that can be outlets in healthy ways. It is okay to go to other people for things in healthy ways, in ways that feed you, that aren't negatively impacting your relationship. That doesn't mean you go vent about your relationship to your friends, because I'm gonna tell you right now, that is almost never the move. Almost never the move. It's never a good idea to overly vent to your friends and family about your relationship. Keep it, if you can't even tell him about it, and this is supposed to be your partner, your husband, then you really need to keep that to yourself and heal. Exactly. Somebody said that's a recipe for disaster. You can forgive him, but your friends are not required to forgive him. Exactly. And it's just a weird back and forth because you're going to them about this negative stuff, but are you telling them equally positive things? Are you telling them about how you didn't feel good and he made you something to eat and he sat with you, rubbed your back, how he held your hair when you was throwing up, you know, gave you a massage, rubbed your feet? Are you telling them all that stuff? Are you telling them all the good things that they do? I will tell you right now, my friends don't know none of the negative stuff that my boyfriend does. Hardly ever. Every now and then I will vent to one of my egg bang because we have that type of relationship where it's not going to be them saying, girl, they're not going to do that because they understand. They've been in similar situations. And so you have to be careful. You can have a friend that you tell things to, but you have to be careful about who that friend is, and they have to be a true friend. A lot of people are jealous. A lot of people are jealous, and you don't even know it. They won't even tell you. But a lot of people are just jealous, hateful, snide, snake-like individuals, and you won't even tell. You won't even know. They are very good at hiding it, because every time you see them, it's all love. They're helpful. They got your back. They're your ride or die. And they also are preying on your downfall because of whatever they got going on with them that you don't know about, or that you may know about, but you don't think that they would do some stuff like that. How many people in the group, you can just say something in the chat. How many of you have experienced a friend or family member who you found out you thought was like real ride or die about you, and then you come to find out they were a snake? You can just put a hand or a little wave or whatever somebody said, my own baby sister. Listen, it be your own, okay? It really be your own. It could be a friend, it could be a family member, it could be a parent. You know what I'm saying? It takes it, and you just don't know. It could be anybody, and you really just don't know. So you just be careful about letting people into your relationship, because ain't nobody gotta be with that person but you. Ain't nobody in that house but you. The dynamic between the two of you, nobody understands that but you. And so men are typically very good about this. Men don't really go to their friends and tell them, all the stuff that you be doing. Them dudes think that you is the bomb. Okay. And then when they find out that your dude is sleeping with somebody else, they're like, dang, what happened with you and so and so? Or it's the other version where like, aha, my nigga. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's always one of the two. And so just be careful, please. That was another tangent I was not supposed to be on. Anyway, I want to be a little bit more clear about my intentions with this class today. This class is about self-accountability, having standards, and reciprocity. Some of us tend to want to fix people. Stop that. We want to mold them. Stop that. We want to be a ride or die. Stop that too. We want to be a down ass bitch. Stop that. A king doesn't need any of those things. They don't need it. All the things that you are trying to be and do and create, they don't need any of that. Okay. And it's not to say that a man who is a trash partner now won't evolve into a great one. Many of them will with time, but it is not your job or responsibility to facilitate that. And a queen knows that. Meet people where they are. Okay. In my tarot deck, there is a priestess card, and I'm actually going to read verbatim what this actually says. And ironically, earlier today, I had the reading, and this card came up at a reading, in her reading. And so I'm going to grab this card and tell you exactly what this card says. So this is my priestess card. Got a bunch of cowrie shells on it. You can kind of see at the very top right here, there is the top of a circle, like a chalk circle. And then there's a black stone. And then this is a white stone. And I'm going to explain what all of this means, because I'm going to read this whole book about this card verbatim. And I'm going to tell you how this applies. So the priestess card is one of knowledge about the mysteries of creation. It is the living oracle itself behind the tools we use, living with one half in the spirit world and one half in the material world. This card provides the possibility of wisdom and is the vehicle of all the psychic phenomena humans might access. Odu is a word we use to talk about the signs we divine with using cowries and in Ifa. We talked about Odus before we started recording. So again, spirit works funny. As a sign we read, each Odu is also an Orisha unto themselves, as we see in the Two of Discs. Finally, Odu is the energy of creation unfolding. As new things emerge in creation, they become part of Odu. This is the deep power behind divining within the Orisha traditions. It is not just that the internet might get included in a sign as part of its meaning, but the internet arose out of the energy of the sign which it belongs to. When we cast divination for someone, we are calling Odu, which changes the course of that person's life. It is an act of magic just doing the reading. The interpretation and the advice that follow are there to help the person consciously align with what is going on. So when we cast coconut shells and a certain sign falls, we ask, did this come to clear the way? If the answer is yes, we move on, because the arrival of this energy through divination has fixed the problem, and we do not need to analyze that part further. When divining, we end with the question, is everything Ebu Ada? Though some people might say it means, is everything good? It actually means, has everything that needs to be said been said? Highlighting that the divining is over, and what comes next is what we apply the advice to. The guarantee is not that everything will be just fine, but that everything that can be known or done has been addressed, and we must now apply it to navigate what is in front of us. So that is the story behind the card. The symbolism of the card, there are 16 cowrie shells that are used for divination. There is a starry expanse peeking through the mat, and as the unfolding of Odu in creation, which you can kind of see, it looks like speckles in the background. I don't know how well that looks, but that's the starry expanse in the back. There is a chalk and a stone for marking yes or no answers in the reading, and then the chalk boundary for the limits of this process. So when divining and this card pops up, life is always evolving. If we listen, we learn to speak its language and understand what is being said to us. This kind of wisdom takes patience and years to develop. It is not intuition or feelings, but a deep blending of knowledge, intuition, and inspiration, or ashe, and our own wisdom that allow us to overcome the problems of life and accept what is beyond change. Deep wisdom from the universe. Applied knowledge brings the best outcomes. Circumstances are evolving as a combination of your actions and forces in the world. Control is an illusion, but effort and attention will win every time. Solutions and advice when this card comes up is meditate on the nature of the universe. Contemplate everything as spirit unfolding. Be practical and deal with things on the level in which they exist on. Only God is perfect, and study. So this card speaks perfectly to queen behavior. In order to attract a good king and be a good match, we must be good queens. There must be reciprocity. I don't know where this idea of women not having to do anything in the relationship came from, but it's weird to me. And to clarify, I'm specifically referring to things that men actually care about, because men don't always be caring about the stuff that we think they care about. We look at it through the lens of what we care about, and we assume that that's also what they care about. Men and women got two different brains, okay? Men have typically a very logical brain. It's very math-centered. Many women have a very emotional brain. It's more feelings and things like that. And so if you don't understand that think like a man type of message that we had over a few years ago, that's actually a thing. You actually do have to understand how they think, because if you try to approach them based on how you feel and what you think, it's really not going to work. You can be a big old freak and he will still want someone else who supports him emotionally, because you can cater to him in ways that you think matter and still be missing what he actually needs. Men have wants and needs outside of sex. And I know that sounds crazy. And we have been conditioned to overlook their feelings and desires. But this has to stop as well. Men want to be seen, heard, and understood just like us. Many men have some healing to do. We all know that. And society has beaten them down the last few hundred years, where things have really started to take a turn as to how we view men, how we think that they are supposed to act, what we think their role is, what we think they think in many cases. And yes, we say it's a man's world. And yes, the patriarchy did do a number on modern society, but we must recognize that men are still human, and treating them like sex robots or cavemen is not going to help anything. And so I don't want to make it, like I said, I don't want to make it seem like I'm being unnecessarily harsh on women, but I need many people to understand that we have a lot of work to do too. Men aren't solely the problem when things don't work. There are some women who are just complete possums, straight dumpster juice. Okay. And we have to stop being delusional about this. It's like really out of hand at this point. I kind of talked about the delusions earlier. There are many men that lack integrity, right? And there are many women who lack integrity. We have to stop playing the blame game. Be a woman that is worthy of the title queen. And remember that you aren't entitled to it simply because you have a vagina. I will say that again. You are not entitled to get queen behavior, queen treatment, princess treatment, simply because you have a vagina. That is not how this works. Stop that immediately. Just like we love to say, just because a man has a penis doesn't mean he's a king. We love to say that. But then we turn around and act like just because we have a vagina, we are queens, we are royalty, and we should be such. And we flick our hair if we have it long enough. That's why some of y'all bald headed, and it's not by choice. Anyway, it's super hypocritical. And we need to stop expecting the world from people and then giving them the bare minimum. Can you provide all the things that you require? This isn't pick-me behavior. This is reciprocity. This is integrity. Stop expecting things from people that you feel you are too good to provide to them. Because that is something that I see far too often in general. Somebody asked what deck I have. It's the Orisha Tarot deck. This has a lot of, this book is thick. This is off topic. This book is super thick, as you can see. Everything comes with like full pages. Like it'll have, this is the moon card. So it'll have the full picture. It'll have like a whole story, like, and sometimes it's a pataki. As in a pataki, for those that don't know, it is a story or like a fable, kind of, that has, fables always have like a story, good and bad lessons. And then there's like a moral of the story at the end of a fable. And then, so it talks about the symbolism in the card. So it doesn't leave anything to the imagination in this book. It tells you exactly what every part of that, everything in that illustration means and why it's there. And then it tells you when you're divining what that card means. And then it gives you, it says solutions, but sometimes it's not necessarily a solution. It's just like things to keep in mind as you go forward. Advice sometimes. Sometimes it'll be honor your ancestors. Sometimes it'll be pray to Obatala for wisdom. Sometimes it'll say pray to Shango for control of your emotions. A lot of people think about Shango as being hot and chaotic sometimes, which he can be. But if you want to control that, you still have to pray to Shango in order to help control some of that, because Shango is also precision and accuracy, and like down to the very minute, down to the nanobite. And so it does actually, yes, priestess, it very much does help you get a better understanding of Orisha. Doesn't mean that Orisha are speaking through them. Let me preface that. However, the reading I did yesterday, I had the Ace of Swords pop up. My Ace of Swords is a singular knife, and it's green, and it talks about Ogun. And she had some heart chakra energy, some heart chakra work she needed to do. I didn't say that in the reading because I don't, when it's somebody outside of the coven, I don't bring up Orisha as they pop up through readings. But when she said heart chakra, and then we started talking about passions because it was in her reading. We started talking about passions and things like that and how she needed to work on her throat chakra as well so that everything that's coming through her heart chakra doesn't vomit out of her mouth and she controls it better. It completely made sense. So these cards are very wonderful. My ancestors, my spirits love these cards. I do not use the regular tarot. Not that I can't. When I was using it, I did understand it, but they made it very clear very early on they wanted me to get a different kind of deck. And so this is the only other tarot deck I've ever bought. I have playing cards for other things. So back to what I was saying. Like I said, stop expecting things from people that you feel you are too good to provide. That's absolute foolishness. The entitlement that is happening on both sides is what is destroying the natural balance in relationships. The first step is realizing that you can only control you and you must get control of yourself. The right partner will come if you are in alignment. And what I'm saying will completely make sense if you have done the internal work. Humble yourself. Yes, you are absolutely the bomb, but also sit the fuck down sometimes. You aren't perfect. You don't know everything. You aren't always right. Sometimes you're emasculating, you're rude, you don't take accountability, you don't care to understand or see your partner's point of view, and you are unhealed. And therefore, you need to stop trying to build a nigga when you can't even stand on your own 2 feet. Because if you could, you would have seen this foolishness a mile away and you would have avoided it. So take a look at yourself, sis. Cat Williams had this special about 17 years ago. It was a Pimp Chronicles. It's the one where he's wearing the green suit. And there's a small snippet where he says, you always talking about how niggas ain't shit. What you mean to say is niggas that you fuck with ain't shit. Take some accountability, bitch. You need to figure out what it is about you and your pussy that attracts ain't shit niggas. I don't think I need to repeat that. I think we pretty much get it. Okay? But you really need to figure that out. And that's not your man just because he busts inside of you. We got to stop doing that. We got to stop assuming everybody we have sex with is a relationship. I'm not telling you what to do with your vagina. You do whatever you want with it. However, stop adopting niggas like they're cats on the street. Just because you fed them a little bit doesn't mean that they belong to you now. So let the alley cats stay out there with their own kind. Okay? Keep them out there. Don't take everybody in just because they showed you a little bit of attention. Especially if you've seen his baby mama. Have you seen his baby mama? If he has kids, have you seen her? Because I'm telling you right now, baby, the bar is in hell and he's on demon time. Okay? It's not. We're not doing this. Stop it. Stop it. And like I said earlier, if first of all, you need to ascend and transcend that foolishness. But for the love of all things sacred, stop calling men sassy and gay because they express their feelings. Take your over masculine, toxic ass on somewhere. If you don't understand the balance between masculine and feminine energy and why we need both, just say that and go do some Google searches, okay? Stop engaging with men that don't share your principles because there are plenty other people that you could be dealing with instead of trying to fight this man on his beliefs. Talking about, why don't you never take me nowhere? Girl, it's been 6 months and he ain't taking you nowhere. Get another one. That's it. Because there are plenty of men that'll just take you somewhere. You mad because he took you to McDonald's and then wanted some pussy. Okay, don't give him no pussy and then get another one. Block him. Stop talking to him. Stop encouraging this foolishness and then turning around and saying men are the problem. No, you're letting men that are the problem keep getting up in you. So you're also the problem. If pussy is power and your pussy is so powerful, stop giving it away to everybody. Stop giving it to people who aren't worthy of it. Stop giving it to people who have shown you that they aren't worthy of it. Hold on to your power. Stop giving your power, your pussy, to everybody and then being mad. Like, and somebody said sometimes there are self-esteem issues. I used to think it would be too hard to find someone else. And that's true. It is very much sometimes a self-esteem issue. But baby, just like pussy is everywhere for these niggas who would fuck a chicken, okay? There's penis everywhere. It's everywhere. Like I said, niggas will fuck a chicken, okay? Have you seen this baby mama? Some of them look like silverback gorillas, okay? And they have the nerve and audacity to talk about their standards. Sir, you didn't have standards when you was busting up in Becky, okay? Becky who ain't got no teeth. Slutty meth mouth, okay? You didn't have no standards with that. Don't come at me for, having an attitude because you ghosted me when you up here putting your dick in slutty meth mouth because you thought the fact that she has less teeth is going to do something to that phallus. It's not. It's not. She's just going to snag it with one of her snaggle teeth. Okay? It's not. It's not. Y'all, stop fucking with low life men. And then being mad that they're low lives. Okay? And if you are going to mess with a low life man, accept that he is a low life man. Accept him for what he is and what you are getting out of this relationship, and don't expect shit else but some dick, because that's all you are going to get. That's all you're going to get, and a headache if you keep trying to control and make him change. He ain't going to change. He's not going to all of a sudden get some money. He is a terrible drug dealer. He's not making no money off selling weed, but you want to be in it for the lifestyle because it's dangerous. It's exciting. And then you mad because he's not going to put on a suit and take you to Ruth Chris. Girl, he ain't never lived by himself, ever. He's always lived with a female or with a family member or with a friend, okay? He's not taking you to Ruth Chris, sis. He's not. He's not taking you to Cooper's Hawk. He's not taking you to the 40/40 Club in New York. You're not going on trips, bitch. He's not ever going to be a passport boy because he probably can't get a passport because he has to get his record expunged first. Quit playing with yourself and these goofy niggas and then being mad because they turn out to be the exact goofy nigga that they've been showing you that they are the whole time. That is not a king. Stop wasting your time. Just stop it. Stop it. For the sake of order, please raise your hand. Does anyone have anything they would like to say about the chaotic dynamic that doesn't involve bashing men or masculine leaning partners? Because remember, this is about accountability on both sides. Like I said, this class is not about possum men. This class is about good men. Okay, but the second part of the class, the things I'm going to talk about, they're about good men, things we do for good men, not possums. Men that need a little help sometimes, men that show us that we are a priority and they pour into us, men that make us feel safe, men that don't mind providing, men that are striving to be good men. Leave the alley cats to their own kind. Like I said earlier, a lion is not concerned with the opinions of sheep. Make them call you Big Purr, okay? Not the little one. Does anyone have anything to add? You can raise your hand and I'll call on you while I catch my breath. You can lose my breath. Remember that Disney Channel song, y'all? Ain't nobody got nothing. Y'all ain't got nothing to add. I said a lot, so I understand. All right. We shall carry on. Oh, there is some comments, so let me read the chat. Where was this class when I was 25? Child, where was this class before I got married? When I was 15. Shit. You know how many teenage girls, if you have daughters, teach your daughters to do better. Get them as teenagers, because there's a lot of ain't shit niggas and fuck boys in high school that are gonna alter the way they think about life, and it's going to cause delays and dysfunction later on, because we don't have these conversations with our child. We want our little girls to be these little precious little angels and shit that don't have sex until they get married and don't let any man get on their nerves and all this other stuff, and that's not realistic. We have daughters. We need to start having these conversations with our daughters. We have sons. We need to be having conversations with our sons so they don't turn into the niggas that do this dumb stuff. We have to, in their teenage years, I would say before they even hit high school, somewhere in middle school, that's where this conversation needs to start. Just like the sex conversation. It needs to be sex and relationships, dynamics in relationships, things that we just don't even tell kids because we think they're too young to hear it. But really, middle school and high school is where they develop their understanding of relationships, unfortunately, because that's where their relationships start. This is when they start to have those little boyfriend-girlfriend relationships that actually will stick with them. Sometimes we get them little boyfriends in elementary school or whatever. That's my boyfriend. And he holds your book and he shares milk or whatever. Middle school and high school is where it really matters. And so whether you have daughters or sons or non-binary children, still have these conversations about sex and relationships early, before it's a problem. Just like how EA says, go to EFA all the time, go to EFA before there's a problem so that EFA can give you guidance. Have these conversations with your children before it's ever a problem so they can have guidance. That's queen shit. Somebody said, yeah, that sounds about like the right age. Somebody said they started to talk with their child, and I know that child is like 11 or 12. And that's, I mean, we have to start having these conversations. We can't be scared that having the conversation will open the door for them to do it. That is not what happens. Having the conversation gives them awareness. It helps them understand so that before they get into the situation, they have some level of expectation. They have some tools and resources that they can have at their disposal to maneuver through these situations if they don't want to bring them to you. Because no matter how many conversations I have with my kids about things like this, I understand they're not always going to come to me first. They're going to go through the situation and then they'll come to me after, whatever the situation is. They're going to have to deal with the situation first before they can come to me about the situation. So it's better that I prepare them for it before it ever happens, so they have some level of understanding, hopefully some sense, and they handle it well, and then they tell me about it after, hopefully. But if they don't, I have to respect that, and I can't be a hovercopter mom, because they'll never learn anything. They have to be able to learn things on their own. Same thing applies with your spouse. You can't be a hover spouse. You can't always do for them and keep them from, you can't make them rely on you. And this is especially true of men, because men really like to do this. Not all men, but there are men who like to provide as a means of control. A queen won't let them do that. And a true king isn't going to do that. They're not providing as a means of control. They provide as how they show love and appreciation. Like, I'm going to take care of you because I love you. And I want you to focus on X, Y, and Z so that you are happy while I focus on this, because focusing on this actually makes me happy. Providing for you makes me happy. There are men like that. There are many men like that. They just get drowned out by Pimp C and Diddy. And that's a whole nother thing. So, Lord, it's me again. Yes, child. So we're going to talk about some ways we can support our kings. And we're talking about Mufasa, okay? Mufasa kings, not Scar. And we're going to talk about the practical, non-magical ways, ideas first. So first is be of service. And this should go without saying, but spoil your man, okay? Your partner, your spouse, spoil them. Make him feel like a king. Make his plate at the function. If you are at Thanksgiving, your man shouldn't be making his own plate. I know that seems super like gender rolly and old school. Make your man's plate. Stop being too proud to make that man's plate or make him a sandwich, especially in public. You are so egotistical and so stuck in your ego that you can't even be of service to your man in public. And that is crazy. Get him a napkin. Get him a drink. Get up for him as quickly as you get up for your ratchet ass friend and your badass kids. Okay? Because some of y'all jump for your son. Oh, that's my kid. But your man got to go make his own sandwich. That's not going to work. And as we get to that, while we're talking about this whole who gets their plate first situation is very dependent upon age, okay? Because babies ain't got no decorum. Babies ain't got no couth, okay? Same for toddlers. You feed that child so to shut the fuck up. If you've ever had a baby, been around a baby, took care of a baby or a toddler, you understand what I'm saying. That little thing is going to make noise until it gets what it wants, okay? Feed that thing, okay? Just feed it. Just feed it. Give it some nuggets. Give it them little puffs, some pretzels, whatever you got to give it so that you can have peace while you eat dinner with your man, okay? Just go on ahead and give it. It's fine. It's really fine. They don't have a timeline. They don't care about dinner time. They want what they want and they want it motherfucking now, okay? That's how kids work. Just do. School age kids and up are a little bit different, okay? Y'all should all be sitting down somewhere together and eating together. No one should eat until you sit down. So it don't matter whose plate you put on that table first, because ain't nobody supposed to be touching their plate until you all sit down. So it doesn't matter. It's a pointless argument. It really does not matter. And he can help you bring plates to the kids. The kids can help you fix his plate and take it to him. Like, this is a family dynamic. We should all be serving each other and being of service to each other. Make it about service, not hierarchy. Okay. I made nachos the other day. It was past my kids' bedtime, but whatever. I was making nachos for me and my boyfriend. My daughter came in there being my child. Y'all know my child at this point. And she also wanted some. So I wasn't finna argue with her because I don't like the whole starvation of kids thing within reason. You know what I'm saying? And she hadn't eaten in a while. She wasn't starving, but she hadn't eaten. And this is something that she actually wanted to eat. And so I always encourage them to try new things, because a couple of days before I made some and she was eating off my plate instead of sleeping. And so today I'm like, you know, I'm just making your own plate. So I was already making his plate. And so I was making his plate because it was in the way. His was the bigger plate. And then I was going to make her and I a plate. So I made his plate and I handed it to her and I said, go give this to Des, please. And she went, didn't say anything about it. She didn't make a face. She didn't scoff, nothing. She took the plate. She went, she handed it to him. He said, oh, is this mine? Thank you. And then he sat it down. She came back in there. I finished her and I plates. And we came back in here because he was playing the game. And we came back in here and he didn't eat yet. And he waited until we came in here and sat down to eat. Not because that was the expectation, but that's because that is how the dynamic works in our house, is that we eat together. So if I'm just making him a plate, I will hand him his plate and I will sit down and he'll know that I'm not eating. And then he'll go ahead and eat. But if I'm in there making my plate, he waits. It doesn't matter if it's just me and him. It doesn't matter how many kids are present, because we got 6 kids between the 2 of us. So it doesn't matter. He waits for me to eat. It's not something I demanded of him. It's not something that he demands of me. It's just out of common courtesy. When it's just me and the kids, when I make food, we all sit down and my kids will wait for me to eat. Because usually I made all our plates together anyway. So they're only waiting a few seconds. But they wait for me to sit down and then we all eat. We put our phones away and we have a conversation. Conversations like halal meats and maybe conversations about sex. Whatever they bring up is what we talk about. And so, and I need to point out that this is not even my boyfriend's daughter, for those of you that don't know. She is not his child, but she gladly gave him his plate without any weirdness, and he gladly waited for both of us to sit down and eat. This is just the dynamic of our household, because these are the precedences that I've set early. We all eat together. Don't touch that plate until everybody sits down. And then it became a thing where I don't even have to say it because we all just do it. I did this when they were small. And now that they're 10 and 15, it's normal for them, at least when they are in this house. You have to set the tone with your actions, and a king will just do king shit naturally. Teach your children this, and it's not even an issue. Y'all know my small person is wild and crazy. But she knew the expectation because she has seen how I treated her father when we were together. She sees how I treat my boyfriend. She sees how I treat her and her brother. And she sees that how I am of service to all of them equally. She sees my example and she follows my actions because she knows that they come from a genuine place of love and kindness. I jump for her. I jump for her brother. I jump for my boyfriend, all equally. No one is favored more than the others. And that's just how you prevent weird arguments, and you keep peace in your household. Just be fair and even with everyone. And especially when the man of the house isn't the father of your children. You cannot be jumping for that man and not jump for your kids. You can't jump for your kids and not jump for that man. If you're going to jump all the time. Don't be a lazy bitch. Do it all. Or you can be lazy all the time too. It's going to cause some tension. And you shouldn't be the only one jumping. But I know if I ask my kids to get me something, they get up and get it. Usually without any fuss. Sometimes they say, hold on, I'm doing this. And I let them finish what they're doing. And then they get up and get the thing that I asked them to get. Same thing applies. They ask me for something, I get up and get the shit. Or I say, give me a second, let me finish this real quick. And then I get up and get it. And sometimes I forget. And then they come and they be like, Mom, can I have? I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. I apologize. Okay. We're going to talk about apologizing later. But I apologize. And I say, oh, my bad. And then I get up and I get it. Be of service. Just be of service. Learn his love language. We often don't do this well as women. We shout from mountaintops about what we want and how we want to be loved and how to make us happy. And very rarely do we work to figure out what that is for our men. So do better about that. Whenever possible, be a light. Do not ever bring up what he expresses as a way to hurt him. If he has shared something with you and you made him feel dumb or like a bitch for having feelings, he will never trust you with his feelings again. You might as well end that shit now, because men don't give as many chances as we do as women. They are not as forgiving. He may not leave you. He may not cheat on you, but he will always remember how that felt. And men can hold a grudge like you would not believe and do it in complete silence. You'll know something is off. And you'll ask him directly. And he will never tell you the truth about his feelings again. Even if it has nothing to do with you, he will never tell you again. You could be thinking it's another female whole time his damn motorcycle won't start. And now you crying and projecting, and he's just in his head about why his favorite toy is broke. But because you made him feel insecure about his feelings and what he had going on and his hobbies and things that he enjoyed, you made him feel insecure. So now he can't even tell you, damn, my motorcycle don't start, because he's scared you're gonna be like, okay, so I don't like that motorcycle no anyway. You need to just sell it. Because that's what some women do. Not everybody, but y'all know the type. Y'all know they exist. And baby, stop bringing up stuff that he tells you in confidence as a way to hurt. That's it. That's all. Allow him to help you through your darkness. Be vulnerable. Let him save you sometimes. Let him feel like the strong man. Especially if you're an independent woman, you really have to learn how to let men be men. Being strong and independent is perfectly fine. But if you can't be soft with him, either he isn't the one or you need to go somewhere and do some healing. Okay. Let him be the man. Let him take care of you in certain ways that may have previously made you feel uncomfortable because of past experiences, whatever. Or if you're going through some type of trauma, let him know, tell him that. Because just like we internalize, like in that last example where I said you think it's another female and it's really just his motorcycle that's not working, and so he's in his head about that. The same is true in the reverse. Anytime, like if I make a certain face, or if I'm not like, hey baby, when he walk in the house, he be like, he may not say what's wrong, but in his mind, he thinks something is wrong. Because I didn't have that peppy, normal, that normal happy aura about me when he saw me. And so make sure that you are being soft and vulnerable and things like that. And so if something's going on with you and it ain't got nothing to do with him, be like, yeah, so this is what's going on. If I seem a little off, I'm sorry. This is what I'm dealing with. That doesn't mean he needs to find a solution to it. And the same thing is if he tells you. Sometimes we want to try and fix things and we want to make it better. And men don't necessarily need that. They're going to figure it out on them by themselves. And some men prefer to, especially if it's about finances. Some men prefer to be the ones to figure that out. And sometimes you got to let them. You just got to let them figure it out. But be there to support. You can say, what is it that you need from me? What do you need me to do? And if they say, nothing, baby, I got it. Great. They may say something that really has nothing to do with that. Like, my back hurts. Can you rub my back? They could be whole ass mad about something else. But the only thing they want from you is a back rub. They don't want you to fix the problem. They want a back rub. They want you to touch them. They want tenderness. They want love. They want support. They don't want you to do anything. They don't want you to fix anything. They just want your presence. That's a man who loves you. When all he wants is a back rub, or he just wants you to lay on his chest. Men will tell you how they, what makes them happy in non-sexual ways. They will tell you the type of intimacy that they require. Like, I know if my boyfriend lays back a certain way, that means he wants me to lay on his chest or lay in his lap. And I will happily, every trip, do that. Okay? If he sits on the edge of the couch, if after too long, if he keeps looking backwards at me, that means I need to move my ass over and put my feet underneath him. Because that's usually what I do. I put my feet under his butt while he plays the game. And I continue with my business. He don't need me to comment on every play of the game. I don't need him to ask me about, what I'm doing on my phone, what my class is about. He will sometimes, because usually I'm sitting on here writing a class. He will, He'll ask sometimes. Every now and then I'll look up and I'll see he scored a touchdown. I'm like, good job, baby. I don't give a fuck about that game. I want some dick. But that game makes him happy right now. So I'm gonna let him play his little game. I'm gonna get my dick later. You know what I'm saying? Let the man be a man. And that goes into the next one. Let him lead. Okay, let him lead, sis. If you want him to be the head, sometimes you just gonna have to let him make a decision. Let that decision be his to make and follow it. And if it doesn't work, don't I told you so him to death either. Talk about solutions and move on. Don't let him lead you off a cliff. But you can't call him the head if you don't let him have the final say in certain situations. Just, let him lead. Let him be the man. And hold him accountable. Because men actually, kings like accountability. They don't want to push over either. They don't want a woman that's just going to say, okay, baby, and never do anything. It's not that they like to tussle, but they want to know that they got to be on their shit. They like a little bit of accountability. They want to challenge in some ways. And this goes back to letting a man be a man and not doing shit out of ego. Give him a little pushback, but don't take it too far. Hold him accountable without downing him. Don't be a pushover. Don't let nonsense go unchecked, but keep it cute and give him some grace. Remember that none of us are perfect. We talked about it in that priestess card, right? None are perfect. Expect love, loyalty, and respect, but do not demand perfection or have unrealistic expectations. Don't expect him to read your mind or know how to do something he has never done just off the strength of him being a man and a provider. If he fumbles, pick it up, pass it back so he can continue his run. That's it. Let that man be a man. Hold him accountable, but don't pull him down. Don't be a crab in a barrel type situation. Speak life into him. Be encouraging. Support his hobbies. Let him hang out with his friends. Let him play that game. Give him some space so that he notices your absence and craves your presence. There's times where this man is like, I was out with them and I just wanted to come home. He will leave early because he wants to come home. And he was like, you know what? I'm coming home at halftime. I don't want to be with these niggas no more. Like, because I let him go out with his friends. No problem. Priestess Ola, we'll see you later. I let him go out with his friends, no problem. I don't make a big deal about it at all. I don't even ask him what time he's coming home. Because chances are I'm not cooking at 10 o'clock at night. I'm about to pray. I'm going to put my kids to bed. I'm going to eat me some snacks. And I'm either doing a class, advertising, needlessly scrolling on Facebook. Like, my life is not so consumed with him that I need his presence all the time. And the same, he don't ask me when I'm coming home. He don't ask me where I'm going. He don't ask me who I'm with. He don't ask none of those goofy ass questions. He can see my location at all times, so he really ain't got to ask. But he's not pressed about any of that. He's not asking me what time I get off work, because it can vary. He's not asking none of those questions. If I'm out with my friends, he's not asking me when I'm coming back. He's literally never asked me that. When we live together, he'll be like, hey, I'm on my way home. If he's on his way. When I'm on my way, I say, I'm on my way home. And one of us will say, bet, I'll be leaving shortly, whatever. But it's never so pressed to where every moment of the day, we got to have our eyes on each other. And that shit's weird. Stop doing that. That's a whole other thing. A tangent I didn't mean to go on. But give him some space and take your own space as well. Some people are not going to like this one. Don't have him coming home to a dirty house and negativity. Even if you were at work too, you got home first and the house is a mess, you left it a mess, clean it up. Don't have him coming home to some bullshit. No one wants to walk into a disaster when they first get home. You left and you knew it was like this. Unless he did that shit when you left, like after you left and he made a mess, then leave the mess for him. Fine. Like, sir, you did this. I'm not your maid. And it's okay to say that. Like, there has to be a balance. You don't have to go up behind this man and clean up every time he makes a mess. Make him clean up for himself. He's an adult. He can clean up for himself. But at the same time, if you knew what the house looked like when you left and you come back and it looks the same, clean that shit up. Clean your house, period. Okay? That's a whole other thing, but don't nobody want to walk into that. And this is why some people sit in their car or they go to a bar before and go get a drink before coming home. Because for them, home isn't a sanctuary. It's not a place where they seek, so they go like seek peace somewhere else before coming home. And don't hand him problems as soon as he comes in the door. Either bring it up when it happens or handle it and tell him about it later. And simple things like when he comes in the house, hey baby, glad you're home. How was your day? It doesn't matter that something caught on fire and that the kids was bad at school. Address him properly. Show concern for his day and what he has going on. And then, as things unfold, bring up the weird shit that happened throughout the day. But don't start with the bullshit. And when he asks the same, because he should be asking the same of you, don't immediately talk about drama, problems, and gossip. Let him decompress first. The man just came in the house. Don't as soon as he comes in the house. And don't do it as soon as he wakes up either. Most men do not talk as soon as they wake up in the morning. You can say good morning, but don't start as soon as he opens his eyes. Don't stop doing that. Please stop doing that. And again, this is especially important if he just came from work or like running errands and stuff. You wouldn't want to come into the house with him doing that to you. So don't do that to him. Last part of the non-magical stuff is apologize, period. If you refuse to apologize about any part that you play in a negative dynamic, then you are part of the problem. Even if you simply say, and this is not as simple, but it could be very broad. You could say, I apologize for how my words make you feel. I was upset. And while I feel my feelings are valid, that does not mean that I need to hurt you to make a point. So let's both agree that we will be more considerate and respectful, even if we don't see eye to eye. Neutralize the situation. Don't antagonize. Don't make it worse. Don't be like, well, I'm sorry, but don't do that. Let an apology be an apology, not an excuse, not a and then, not a but. You know what I'm saying? Let an apology be an apology without negating your own feelings. So like I said, I feel my feelings were valid. However, that doesn't mean I get to make you feel bad just because I feel bad. It doesn't work that way. You can't, they say hurt people. We got to stop doing that too. Does anybody have any questions or input about those things? Somebody said that's a good ass apology. Thank you. I've had practice because I apologize. Because sometimes I'm the problem. Sometimes I ain't shit. Okay. So I am a Leo sun and I have a Leo Mercury and a Leo Mars. Okay. So I'll be having to work on myself. Okay. I'll be really just having to work on myself. And like I said, sometimes I'm the problem because the way I communicate sometimes is very passionate and heavy. You already see just how I talk in class, right? And so I have to be careful in conversations. I'm actually very quiet and reserved in my relationship because I have to be careful what I say. And I have approché. And there are other things in my Odu. And so I just, I gotta watch my mouth, particularly in my relationships. I have to be very, very careful about how I treat the opposite sex. That's also in my Odu. And so um, everything I'm saying comes from a place of actual genuine experience. I don't just be saying shit to say shit. Like I actually do this shit in real life. And my man is not perfect. Okay. Some of y'all know the stories. Okay. Some of y'all know the situation. You know what I'm saying? He's not perfect. But because I have chosen to stay, I cannot hold that against him because I chose to stay. I could have left. I could have been gone. You know what I'm saying? It's not his fault that I stayed. It's mine. And so I need to grow and let go, or else I need to just go. And that was a whole lot of a whole lot of rhyming bars. Just kidding. Okay, so nobody has any questions? Input? Okay. So it's time for some magic. I already told you about enchanting the food you prepare, right? And a lot of you have actually taken that into great consideration going forward. I see some people cooking, and so that makes me happy hearing how you have applied that knowledge since that class. Don't be putting blood in anyone's food. I said what I said. There are better ways. If your man ain't acting right, there's other ways. Blood in the food is never the way. Saying that out loud right now. Also, carrying yourself well, even in hard times, has an effect on your partner, whether you realize it or not. Your essence itself is enchanting. Look good, smell good, taste good. Okay. That is magic. We don't think about it that way, but the allure, the mystique, the mysteriousness, the way you move, the way you talk, even when things are weird, men do notice that stuff. We like to say that that men don't notice. They do notice. They may not ever really say something, but they notice. And they will let you know that they notice in certain ways at different times. And there are little things that you could do to help your king be great. So the first one is something that we already do, right? We already do spiritual baths, right? Spiritual baths are important. You're already taking yours. So if you are doing what you need to do, he will see the results and he will be more open to doing it as well. Help him make his own based on divination and, follow the OHI bath protocols. You're already going to have to sleep separate and all white and all that other stuff. So if you're doing it and you're in alignment, you will attract a man who at least understands it. And he may not do it every time, but one spiritual bath is better than none ever. Okay. I think a couple of days ago it popped up in my memories from when my boyfriend had a spiritual bath and we took one together. Not together, but he took his. He went in the room because he had to work the next day. So he went in the room and I slept down here on the couch because I'm kind of used to it. So it worked out. And then after 4 hours, I went back upstairs in the bed. And he was very happy that I was back in the bed. But he got a lot of clarity from that. And although, again, things weren't perfect, right? Because it was just one bath. But a lot of things, some things like really started to change mentally for him at that point. And so spiritual baths are great. Or refeedings, same concept. If he sees you doing, because I did feed his Ori that day too, and I made him wear one of my white head wraps. And so if you can, if they're willing to do it, encourage it. Homemade body oils, lotions, and salves. So making something just for him or for you as a couple, that is a wonderful thing to do. I made some body oils like a while back that I sell in my store. And I use a very specific one on his back when I give him a massage at night, and it like calms him down. It does wonders for him mentally. It's the ancestor oil that I made. It gives him peace and calm and makes him feel supported in ways that, are unimaginable. And he's more at peace and he usually goes right to sleep afterwards. So consider us that are the witchy type and know how to make those, make a specific one for his peace, for his mental clarity, things like that. Prayers. Now this should go without saying, right? But pray for that man. Not just as it relates to you, not just about your relationship. Pray for him. Pray for his health, his spirit, his mind, his joy, his happiness, and his peace. Whether that has to do with you or not, pray for him, just like you do for your kids. Candle work. Sometimes you need a little extra oomph, you know what I'm saying? So get approval from your court and put in that work. Most of us know how to do candle working, so you know the protocol for that. It could be, doesn't have to be anything crazy. And I'll go over some intentions a little bit. Sachets, you can make one for him and put it in a place that is for him. So like his closet, if you don't have a shared closet, or on his side of the closet, his drawers, his car, his desk. Either you can give it to him so he can put it in his desk, or if you have access to his office, put it in his desk. You can sew it into his coat. This works for sigils and crystals too. You can protect your man, like I said, protect your man just like you protect your children. Make a love and protection sachet, and you can put it under the bed, or you can put one on both sides. You can put one in the middle of the bed underneath usually most people have a mattress and a box spring. You can put it like dead in the middle. You can put it at the head, or you can put it at the foot, whatever works. Just make sure you're intentional about your placement and why you're putting it there. And as long as you've divinely got the approval, do that. And then enchant it ever so often to make sure that it's keeping its potency and stuff like that. I have a sachet under my bed that I enchant once a month on a very specific day. And so, have a plan for that. Cinnamon. So keep a cinnamon broom over your bedroom door, inside your bedroom, or you can blow cinnamon on your bed every now and then. Cinnamon is good for protection. It's good for healing. It's also good for love. It's good for spirituality, and it's good for helping with psychic abilities. So this can really help strengthen your bonds. You could use it in your love workings you do for your relationship. But by its own, like I have a cinnamon broom above my bedroom door. It goes down. That's all I'm saying. It goes down in there. That's like our sanctuary. That's our safe space in the room. Because that's the one place, if I go in there and I close my door, once I close my door, my kids won't go in there, because typically we don't close the doors. So they know if I close the door, that means leave me the fuck alone. Again, unspoken rules in the house, because we set precedent. And again, that's not their dad. So we sleep with the door shut, because that's not their dad. Spirit dolls. I'm not saying stick pins in that man, okay? But we all know the power of spirit dolls. And so you can make a set for the two of you and work them together using sympathetic magic. Or, if there's something going on with him, you can make a spirit doll for him. Love magic in established relationships is entirely justified. Working should be based on protection, truth, clarity, chastity, respect, bonding, strength, wisdom, love, and peace. If you got to work a man to keep him or make him do right, child, go get another one. Okay? Has anybody ever done any of the things that I mentioned, or do you have something different that you would like to share? Or are there any questions about love magic? And I'm asking specifically because we have people who are not in the coven class. So if you have a question, now is the time to ask, because I know that you don't really get to see that. Anybody? Nobody got nothing? Y'all quiet today. Fine, be that way. So I said a lot. I hope nobody took it personally. I hope you understand where I'm coming from. Queens do queen shit, and they ain't worried about bum ass, ashy individuals. So if you got an ashy individual that ain't doing right, baby, that's not a king, and invest your time somewhere else. There's a book that I will suggest. I didn't have it in my notes, but it's called The Way of the Superior Man. I cannot remember the name of the author right now. I bought that book for my boyfriend a few years ago. Read it. Read it. Give it to your man to read. Um, this was actually right before Nipsey Hussle died. He was on the Breakfast Club, I believe. And Lauren London actually gave him that book, and he was talking about the book. And I said, let me check it out. And so that is a very good book. That's very king and queen type shit. It talks about a lot of things. It talks about things that you may not want to talk about, but you got to understand them. It talks about fidelity, and it talks about men who go around sowing their seed and things that they shouldn't. It talks about that. And it talks about why that's a bad idea from the perspective of another man. A man wrote this book, not a woman. And so this is not a book written by a simp, as the kids would say. This is a book written by a man who's on his shit and had a whole lot of money and understood the dynamics of a relationship and the things that can go wrong. And so it's called The Way of the Superior Man. It's a very good book. Everyone should read it, man, woman. I would even say teenagers. Once they get, if they're in high school, they can read that book too. Definitely. Maybe not your middle school kids, but definitely a high school kid, especially a high school kid that's having sex, have them read that book. That might help curb some behaviors before they even really get too far. So thank you all for joining me. I appreciate you so much. Shadow work starts here in a couple weeks. Still have 2 more classes, 2 more live classes in the series. So A Bridge, a Moat, and a Dragon, that's going to be about home protection. And then Fantastic Voyage, which is about witching on the go, pretty much. Magic on the go. Little things to keep in your arsenal when you travel to make sure that you are protected or ready. Because, you know, we look to the left and we look to the right because a priestess stays ready. And so those are going to be the next 2 classes. And again, thank you all for joining me. I love you. And I hope you have a wonderful day. And remember to keep your head so high you don't even see the haters. Peace.